Hey everyone, happy Thursday, or as I like to call it, Friday Eve. It is April 2nd, 2020. We're going to go ahead and get right into our daily check-in. And so as you guys know by now, we start every check-in with our breathing tool. So let's go ahead and take that out and take 3 deep breaths together. And remember that you guys can say in your head the tagline for the breathing tool, which is I calm myself and check in. So let's go ahead and do that together. Ready? Last one. Good job, you guys. All right, so we are going to now do our feelings check-in. What I think is one of the most important parts of our day, sharing with others how we're feeling. And this morning, I woke up with, I know it's a shocker, I woke up feeling happy. I think that the reason I've been waking up feeling pretty good and happy lately is because I've been putting a lot of time and effort into my self-care plan, into just me, doing things that make me feel happy. This has not been an easy transition. We are living in some pretty upsetting times, and I think because of that, this is the best time to put extra love and care into yourself. And so I feel like I've been doing a pretty good job at doing that, and I think as a result, I'm finding it easier to wake up in the morning and feel happy. Have you been waking up feeling happy or any other types of green zone feelings? Are you finding it harder? And if you are, what is something that you can do for yourself today that is caring for yourself or just making you feel good? I encourage you guys to do that. However, on the flip side, I do have one hard feeling that I've been dealing with. Actually, been dealing with it since we've kind of been in this shelter-in-place situation, a little bit more than usual. And it's this one. And you guys should know what this one is because we talked about it yesterday. It is frustrated. So yesterday we talked about how our frustrated feelings come out quite a bit when we make mistakes. And one way that we can work through that is just to remind ourselves that mistakes are okay. And when they're little mistakes, they're things that we don't need to hold on to and we can just toss them in our garbage can. However, the frustrating feelings that I've been having lately are not because of mistakes that I'm making. It kind of is, but it's more basically because I constantly feel like I'm having to repeat myself. Shoot me a me too if you're in the same boat. And I don't want to get more into that because actually I'm going to spend today's Thoughtful Thursday talking about a strategy that's going to help relieve some of that frustration. So before we get into that though, I want so badly to know how you're feeling today. What did you wake up with? What are you holding on to? Let's press pause and turn and talk to the people that you're watching this with. Or if you're by yourself, you know the drill. Grab your journal or open an email to me and share how you're feeling today and why. So go ahead and press pause and do that now. Well done, you guys. Welcome back. Okay, so I have been having this frustrated feeling come up lots of times. And it is because I am home a lot with the same people, as we've mentioned several times this week. But one of the reasons that this feeling keeps coming up is because I do kind of feel like I'm constantly having to repeat myself, whether it's asking a question or giving a direction. Sometimes I'll ask something as simple as how much more work do you have left? And I won't get an answer. How much more work do you have left? And I still won't get an answer. And at that point, I think one of two things. I either think they don't care to answer me or they didn't hear me, so I should say it again. But then when they don't answer me the third time, this frustration can sometimes move from the yellow zone frustrated to the red zone mad. And I don't want that to happen. So it also happens when I'm asking questions like, what would you like for lunch? or how was your day? Just little things like that. Can you please pick that up for me? So, I have the most perfect strategy. And if you have been in my lessons for a while, you probably know exactly what strategy I'm going to talk about. And it comes from the Kimochis program. The Kimochis program is one of our social emotional learning programs that we use in the Mill Valley School District. And this is one of my Kimochi characters, Hugdipus, who's going to help us with today's lesson. But it is, the lesson is from the keys to communication. And there's 7 keys to communication. So the whole idea around the keys to communication is if you can master all 7 of the keys, you're going to be able to have positive connections, good, wholesome relationships. You're going to find it easier to get what you need. And just in general, you're going to be a master communicator. And that's because the keys to communication cover anything from how to get somebody's attention the right way to how to assume the best in them. And these are all necessary tools that sometimes we feel are obvious or simple, and yet we don't do them. So it's good to review these, but it's also good to just sit down and ask yourself, am I doing this? I teach these every year. In fact, I've been teaching them for almost 8 years, and yet I'm sitting here feeling this way because I haven't been doing the easiest one, which is, you probably guessed it, key number 1. So I'm going to just really briefly review key number 1 with you and tell you my plan for today and moving forward so that I can start to incorporate this skill more in my home. So key number 1 is the foundation of all conversations and connection. Key number 1 is, before you speak, 1, call someone's name. 2, wait for eye contact. 3, when needed, give a communication tap. Okay, that's a lot. So I'm going to break it down like I do in my lessons, and I'm just going to go one at a time. And the very first one says, before you speak, 1, call someone's name. Even though that probably seems like a really obvious first step, the majority of us do not take this very first step. In fact, the majority of us never feel like it's necessary, especially if you're at home and you're in a room with just one other person. You probably think to yourself, like, I don't need to call their name. They know I'm talking to them. But actually, calling someone's name is not, it's not just to tell them, oh, I know your name. It's actually an attention getter. So it's actually been scientifically proven that a person's favorite word is their name. So if you call a person's name, it just instantly gets their attention, and their eyes just naturally want to follow where it came from. So even though I might be in a room with my husband and it's just me and him, I don't want to just start talking if we haven't been talking to each other, if we've just been silently working. I'm going to, especially if he's working on something, I'm going to start by saying his name. Hey, Ray. And then that's going to give him the opportunity to then look up and show me with his eye contact that he's ready to listen. You guys, sometimes people are in the middle of doing something. Maybe they're in the middle of writing a sentence. Maybe they're thinking really hard about something. Maybe they're playing a game. Maybe they're having a conversation with somebody else. Calling a person's name is a simple way of letting them know, hey, I would like to say something to you. And it's a way of doing it where it gives them the opportunity to respond when they're ready to listen, rather than just instantly talking and not even giving them the opportunity to stop what they're doing or give you their full attention. So Hugdipus here is a really great friend for this key because she is full of energy, and she often forgets to wait and call a person's name, and she almost never waits for eye contact. She's that friend who always runs into a conversation and just starts talking and does not think about the fact that she's interrupting, or maybe somebody's in the middle of a thought. And because of that, people do get really frustrated with her, and sometimes people try to even stay away from her because they know that she's going to interrupt them. And if they're deep in thought, they really they don't want her to interrupt. But another thing that she doesn't do, I mentioned a little bit ago, is she doesn't wait for the eye contact, which is the second part. Wait for eye contact. This is a very important step of this key, because eye contact is how a person tells you, I'm here and I'm ready to communicate. I hear you and I'm going to listen to what you have to say. Hugtopus does not wait for that. Instead, Hugtopus, if she calls somebody's name, will just say their name and then immediately start talking. One, this can be looked at as rude because, again, you're not giving that person an opportunity to stop what they're doing and look at you. But two, that person might not hear you, and then you start talking to them, and then you'll feel like they're ignoring you when actually that's not what's happening. For me, as a parent, I am often calling one of my boys, but I'll call Rory and I'll say, hey Rory, can you please pick that up? And I'll try to tell him he needs to clean up his mess. But I just say his name and instantly give him a direction. I haven't given him even 30 seconds to look at me and be ready to hear what I have to say. His brain's not even ready to take in the direction that I'm giving him. And so when he doesn't start cleaning up, I start to feel frustrated and I say, hey, I've already asked you, can you please clean that up? And then when I say it again, he looks at me with his eye contact, and then I say, hey Rory, can you please clean up your mess? And then he will look at me and say, yeah. It's not because he's ignoring me. He literally is not hearing what I'm saying because I'm not giving him the time or the opportunity with his eye contact to listen and hear what I'm asking him to do. So slowing down, calling a person's name, and then waiting for them to look at you and say, I'm ready to hear what you're asking me or what you're saying. That is the best way to start off a connection with somebody. But then there's an extra step, because sometimes you will call someone's name and you will wait and wait and wait for eye contact. And this is what I find often happens when me or somebody else is not looking. I actually am very guilty of this. I'm very guilty of doing this. Rory, Rory, Rory. And then I actually start to feel frustrated because I feel like he's ignoring me. Also, I know many of you out there are guilty of doing this. Hey, mom, 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 mom. Yes, you are calling their name, absolutely. And maybe you're waiting for eye contact and you're just not getting it. And so you think, well, if step 2 didn't work, I got to go back to step 1. That is not the case. It goes 1, 2, 3. Call someone's name, wait for eye contact, and when needed, give a communication tap. So this is what it would look like. Hey, Hugtopus. Hi, what are you doing? This is not what it looks like. Hey, Hugtopus, what are you doing? Or hugs, Hugtopus, Hugtopus, Hugtopus. See how neither of those really worked, right? Now, sometimes you guys, people are legitimately busy. Sometimes they're on the phone, sometimes they're cooking, sometimes they don't have time to turn and look at you. And that's okay. So you need to just give them a little tap to let them know that you want to get their attention. And when they turn and they make eye contact with you, then you know that they're ready to hear you. And they know in a respectful way that you want their attention. A tap, you guys. 1, 2, 3, gentle tap. This is not a tap though. If you keep tapping someone, it's going to be annoying. They're going to get frustrated. And again, you guys, key number 1 is not about how to simply get someone's attention. No, anybody can get someone's attention by screaming really loud and tugging on them and pulling them, but that's not what the point of it is. Key number 1 is how to get somebody's attention the right way. And the right way to do it is to call someone's name, wait for eye contact, and when needed, give a communication tap. So I want you guys to practice this skill. It is a skill to practice. I, for one, have to start using this strategy so much more. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 2 things. I'm going to take the face-to-face challenge. I've been finding more and more that I've been like yelling from one room to another, and I might be calling someone's name and I say, Ray or Rory, and I might even start talking right after I say their name. So the face-to-face challenge is you communicate only face-to-face. So when you have something to tell somebody, or you have a question or a request from somebody in your home, you go, you find them, you call their name, and you wait for eye contact, and you face-to-face give the direction or the comment or question. So try the face-to-face challenge. No more yelling from one room to another. See how it changes the atmosphere or maybe the energy in your home if you eliminate the yelling from room to room. The second thing I want to encourage you guys to do is share where your names came from. It's simple. Just sit around the dinner table maybe tonight, and mom and dad, you guys can talk about how you came up with the names that you gave your children, and then maybe you can also share where your names came from. Our names are the very first and most precious gift that is given to us in life. And so it's really important to know the origins of where our names came from and have a really great appreciation for them. So there's 2 things to work on. We are going to practice our key number 1. Before you speak, call someone's name, wait for eye contact, and when needed, give a communication tap. And one way to support this is to practice with the face-to-face challenge and making sure that you are face-to-face with your eye contact, and also talking about where your names came from, because that's just a fun thing to do. Okay, guys, have an incredible rest of your Thursday. I will see you guys tomorrow for Fun Friday. I haven't figured out what we're going to do yet, but I'm sure we'll make it fun. We'll do something fun. All right, guys, have a great day. Stay happy, stay healthy. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.